In today's story, we uncover a shocking incident that has everyone talking. A routine day took a dark turn when a black woman was falsely arrested by a police officer under questionable circumstances. His harsh tone and quick accusations left her stunned and confused. What seemed like an ordinary traffic stop spiraled into a public scene of injustice. But what the officer didn't know was that the truth was quietly being recorded, every moment captured by nearby security cameras. As the footage surfaced, it revealed a side of the story that turned the entire situation upside down, exposing the officer's real motives and shedding light on the truth behind the arrest. Stay tuned as we dive into the details of this unbelievable event and explore how one small detail changed everything. Will justice prevail? Let's find out. The woman, whose name was Tasha, was on her way home from work when the officer pulled her over. She was a nurse, still wearing her scrubs, exhausted from a long shift. Tasha had no idea why she was being stopped. The officer approached her car with an aggressive tone, claiming she had been speeding, but something felt off. He didn't ask for her license or registration right away. Instead, he began questioning her in a way that seemed unrelated to any traffic violation. Tasha stayed calm, insisting she hadn't done anything wrong, but the officer's behavior only escalated. Within minutes, he accused her of resisting and demanded she step out of the car. A small crowd began to gather, watching in disbelief as the officer handcuffed her. Tasha's heart raced. What was happening? Little did she know, a nearby security camera had captured the entire interaction, and what it revealed would change everything. As Tasha sat in the back of the police car, her mind raced with confusion and fear. She knew she hadn't done anything to deserve this, yet the officer seemed determined to make her out as a criminal. Meanwhile, the crowd on the sidewalk grew larger. Some were filming with their phones, while others whispered to one another, questioning why the situation had escalated so quickly. Across the street, the owner of a convenience store noticed the commotion. His store's security cameras, which faced the street, had been recording the entire interaction. Intrigued, he decided to check the footage. What he saw stunned him. The video showed Tasha calmly complying with every request, while the officer's behavior grew increasingly hostile and erratic. The man hesitated, unsure of what to do. Should he get involved? Meanwhile, Tasha's world was crumbling. All she could think about was how this could ruin her career, her reputation, and her life. Back at the scene, Tasha pleaded with the officer to explain why she was being arrested, but her questions were met with silence. The crowd's unease turned to outrage as people demanded answers. Some shouted for the officer to let her go, while others called for more officers to arrive. Tasha could feel the weight of every stare, every phone recording her in handcuffs. She had never felt so powerless. Meanwhile, the convenience store owner made a decision. He downloaded the footage and hurried outside, unsure of what kind of reaction he'd face. Before he could reach the crowd, another police car arrived, and a second officer stepped out. The tension in the air was palpable. Tasha hoped this new officer would see the situation for what it was and intervene. But instead of helping, the second officer seemed to side with his partner, brushing off the crowd's concerns. The store owner pushed his way through, laptop in hand. "I've got something you need to see," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the noise. But before he could share the footage, the first officer turned toward him, his expression shifting to one of unease. Tasha's heart pounded. Was this finally the moment when the truth would come to light? Or would things take an even darker turn? The officer's unease quickly turned into aggression as he stepped toward the store owner. "You need to stay back," he ordered, his voice sharp and commanding. The crowd, sensing something important was about to unfold, began pressing in closer. Tasha, still in handcuffs, watched in silence, her breath catching as she saw the laptop in the man's hands. Whatever was on that screen had to be her chance at proving her innocence. But before the store owner could speak, the officer suddenly demanded to see the footage. His demeanor shifted, no longer in control, but desperate. The second officer stood by, his face unreadable, as the crowd started murmuring louder. The store owner hesitated, holding the laptop tighter. "This needs to go to someone who will actually do the right thing," he said, his voice steady. Just then, a woman stepped out from the crowd, revealing herself as an off-duty lawyer who had been recording the entire incident on her phone. "This isn't how the law works," she declared, her voice clear and bold. The crowd cheered her on, but the tension grew thicker. The officer's hand hovered near his radio, as if deciding whether to call for backup or cover his tracks. Tasha felt a flicker of hope, but it was drowned out by the looming fear that things could spiral even further out of control. The store owner, now joined by the lawyer, refused to hand over the footage to the officer. "This evidence doesn't belong to you," the lawyer stated firmly, holding her phone up as she continued recording. The crowd rallied behind them, shouting for the footage to be shared publicly. The officer's confidence faltered, and for the first time, Tasha saw fear in his eyes. Before the situation could escalate further, a third police car arrived, this time carrying a senior officer. The crowd parted as he stepped out, his expression serious as he assessed the scene. The lawyer quickly approached him, explaining what had happened and showing him her recording of the arrest. The store owner followed, offering the security footage. The senior officer watched in silence, his face growing stern as he pieced the story together. After a tense moment, he turned to the arresting officer. "We need to talk," he said, his tone cold. The officer tried to protest, but it was no use. Tasha, still in handcuffs, felt tears welling up as the senior officer ordered her release. The crowd erupted in applause, but just as Tasha thought it was over, the senior officer leaned in and said, "This isn't the first complaint I've received about him." It was then that Tasha realized the truth ran deeper than her own arrest. This wasn't just about her. It was about exposing a pattern of abuse. As the officer was escorted to the car, the senior officer assured Tasha that an internal investigation would begin immediately. The crowd dispersed slowly, buzzing with the revelation. Tasha stood there, shaken but relieved, knowing she wasn't just a victim anymore, she was part of something bigger. As the crowd thinned, Tasha stood quietly, still processing everything that had just unfolded. The lawyer stayed by her side, offering support and ensuring she was okay. The store owner handed her a copy of the security footage, assuring her that the truth was now undeniable. Though shaken, Tasha felt a sense of relief, knowing that she wasn't alone in this fight. The senior officer apologized to her, promising to take the matter seriously. For the first time that day, she felt heard. Tasha knew it wouldn't erase what had happened, but it was a step toward accountability.